This time on Gamers Week podcast, pre-owned copies of Activision's 2013 Deadpool game are being listed online for absurdly high prices, with the most expensive one weighing in at almost $50,000.
So, Donnie, what we really need to do is we need to figure out how to get $50,000 and find a stupid game, sell it to each other, right? And then try to sell it again, and then again exchange it so that you get like 10 of these listings sold at $50,000. Boom.
Isn't that verbatim how Wada inflated prices?
Yeah, of
Pretty
course.
much, yes.
So it works, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
It does.
Okay. I can't use any of this. None of it. Not 1 second of it.
I disagree. I think that we should shake things up.
Spice it up.
Shake it up.
Make them listen. And then
Shake it
make
up.
them immediately turn it off. But thanks for the download.
Oh, no.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Mm-hmm.
And what about next week when we have lost every subscriber we ever had?
You know what? That's next week, Ryan's problem.
We're putting it all on 00. Holy shit. We won?
1,000 downloads. What is this?
You guys want to get started?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh my God. We're live. Yay. Hey,
do
everybody.
it.
Yay.
In ways that make us feel good. Let's do it.
Welcome, everyone, to Gamers Week podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 129, and today is Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. My name is Blue Williams, and I will be your host this evening. But as you can see, I am not alone. I do have my two fine co-hosts with me. My first co-host is an honorary Canadian who loves Moosehead, but will neither confirm nor deny whether he's talking about the beer. I'll let that one settle. And my second co-host was kicked out of his most recent flash mob because he didn't realize everyone was there to sing and dance.
So do we have to decide who's who on this one?
Please say hello to Calvin Payne, a.k.a. Liar Gamebrews, and the one and only Donnie G.
I like this idea, Liar Gamebrews. I will take that and run with it.
Yeah.
Big sexy and little sexy. I like it. There's people side and says two fine co-hosts, big sexy and little sexy. I've never worn a trench coat. I don't think I'm the type of person that could sport a trench coat. So this flash mob thing, I don't think it would go over very well with me.
Is having a trench coat a required piece of attire for? Oh, I just got it. Flash mob. That did not resonate until just that moment.
Are you okay?
Like, you
okay,
felt
Ryan?
the idea, like, just hit me in that moment. Wow. I get it.
And it saved you from calling me old.
Damn.
Is that a requirement? Once you hit 40, you got to have a trench coat and a briefcase.
All right. Well, since that went so well, let's move on to our reviews, reactions, and requests. At Duct Tape Plays says, I already saw the Borderlands movie and it was fine. I've definitely seen worse. At File ID Diz says, I'm not watching the Borderlands movie. If I want to see old people being chaotic, I'll just go to work.
Well played.
And at Sleep is for Tea says, like most people who are interested in the Borderlands movie but have things to do, I'll watch it when it's streaming. I'm curious about it, but not that curious. And that seemed to be most people's response is, we're fine with watching it, but very few people actually are motivated to go to the theater to see it.
Right. I really hope that on the back of the DVD cover, it just says, "It was fine. I've definitely seen worse." That tape plays.
I mean, you could do something like that with like the Deadpool movie and it would be funny. But when it's true, you can't actually say that. Let's move on to our patron shoutouts.
We couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. The Mad Milkman, Seven Castle Forest, Crunchy Kong, Sheriff Snacks, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven Sand, Ramboski, Terry Kinnair, Doongie Forever, A Jill 2020, Ducks in Disguise, Don't Make Me Pull Over This Car, Sir Coffee of Houseblend, first of his name, Hybrid Divide, Matto 1606, You Fall Before Me, Davey PGH, the Red Ox PDX family, including Shannon and Luke, Zach Huge Thanks, #1 Blue Sick Boys fan, John Baran, Sassy Sony, Evil Lust, Ry's Secret Best Friend, Mega Retro Man, Gametroid, Ham.
Are you dying?
Moradi, Michael Lekite.
We're not that lucky.
Oh, wow.
Love you, bud.
Rybert's grumpy tonight.
He hasn't had his Metamucil. Emo S. Bill Tucker, the real retro game brews. Fruitcakes Pickled Pepper, Ducks with Thick Thighs, Wizard of Zardoz, Bubs and Dugnut, Loudmouth, Retroblast Pat, and BNT Zillaguy. If you like what you hear today, and we really hope you do, please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. You'll also gain access to our bi-weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
All right, let's move on to the headlines.
This headline segment is sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. In each episode, Rob and Hugh pick 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. This week, Rob picked up a jewel case for Hotel Mario at a garage sale. And what do you think he found inside? Send your answers to email at retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes.
I'm thinking it's an adult DVD. Because no one would think to look for an adult DVD in the Hotel Mario case. Because like, oh my God, I'm not touching that thing.
I know which one it is.
Which adult DVD it is?
Out of all the ones they've ever made.
Ron Jeremy's Super Horny Over.
That would be a genius way to hide it from your wife. I like where both your heads are at. Unfortunately, it's not an adult DVD.
Phrasing? Jesus.
Touche. Inside the case for Hotel Mario, Rob found a redacted, which I think is an upgrade.
From Hotel Mario?
From Hotel Mario. All right, so first up tonight, Sega has revealed its Gamescom 2024 lineup, which will include a previously unannounced game. The publisher will have 3 playable games at this year's show. Sonic X Shadow Generations will be marking its first playable appearance in Europe, as will a playable build of Atlas's Metaphor Refantasio. However, Sega also notes that completing the lineup of playable titles on the Sega stand is an as-yet unannounced project. Gamescom will run from August 21st to 25th in Cologne, Germany, with Jeff Keighley's opening night live streaming on Tuesday, August 20th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Donnie is losing his mind. Go ahead.
I was just saying, those sounds of ecstasy that you're hearing are obviously Donnie's. So Donnie, take it away.
He needs a minute to change his pants, but then we'll continue.
I will be in Cologne, Germany the day after this ends.
No kidding.
No.
You're not. No.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Gamescom. Yeah, Cologne, Germany. Guess what? You're going to be there. Really? I am? Yeah, but you're coming a day late. Son of.
Is there justification for you to reach out to your company and just be like, just one day earlier? That's all I'm asking. I know there's no business justification for this, but I will be a happy employee.
I think I'd have to pay for it myself because the flight that I'm leaving on only flies out of St. Louis like 2 days a week. And that's one of the days. So
how much do you love Sega? That's the question. Flip around the hat. He's wearing the Sega hat.
Do you even have to answer that or ask that question?
I don't. It just feels like if you were a real fan, you'd pony up so you could go a day early and go check out the Sega booth for the unannounced game. I'm just saying.
Gatekeeping at its finest by Blue Williams.
Yeah, it's irritating to hear that opening night live is streaming on Tuesday during the day.
Right.
I know it's nighttime in Cologne.
I was going to say, okay.
I understand how time works, but it's annoying because I can't watch. I'll have to be at work.
I'm going to teach you a pro move. You're going to tell people that day that you're having issues with your camera.
You're right. That is a pro move. This is coming from somebody who's worked on Zoom exclusively far longer than I have.
I'm just telling you. For some reason, I just can't get my camera to work today. Sorry, guys. I would normally be on camera, but I'm not today.
No, I like it. I do. I like it.
That's how I watch the World Cup.
So do you feel that Sega's like pumping out another Sonic game too quickly?
No.
We just had a Sonic game.
Right. What was it?
Blur of the Wild.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. I feel like there's been a Sonic game since announced or something. I don't know. I don't really keep up with the Sonic games, but I mean, I know there's a constant demand for them. So,
though, honestly, this is Sega's cash cow because they have such a player base that will play every Sonic game, regardless if it's crap or not. So they're banking on this, right, for making money. It's the same thing with like Marvel movies. Like, let's just keep throwing in the guys you always love. We'll do Avengers. We'll do this. We'll do that. You'll come and watch, right?
Yep.
We need more money.
We know a certain number of you are going to buy tickets no matter what we put out. So
Exactly.
But I wonder what this unannounced game is.
We've been wondering.
Super game.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Super Game.
No. Super Game's supposed to be out like next year or something. I'm thinking it's not going to happen.
So what Sega franchise needs to be rebooted?
Golden Axe.
Ooh.
Golden Axe.
Kind of how they redid Streets of Rage and stuff. And I would be okay with a Golden Axe.
No, yeah, I that would be all right.
As long as I can kick gnomes,
You cannot have a Golden Axe game if you're unable to kick a gnome 20 feet across the campsite. Just, bing!
Want my potion, bitch?
Okay, next up, pre-owned copies of Activision's 2013 Deadpool game are being listed online for absurdly high prices, with the most expensive one weighing in at almost $50,000. The game received mediocre reviews for its dated gameplay mechanics and level design, but it was delisted in 2017. Since the movie's release, however, prices for physical PS4 copies of the game jumped from a maximum of $140 to a preposterous £38,374, which is just about 49,000 US dollars. This ludicrously high price tag was attached to an eBay UK listing, which has since been removed, but justified its value as a test for rich Deadpool fans who want to prove how much they love Deadpool in the description.
They're listing it. Let's just say they're listing it for $50,000.
Right.
No one's buying this for 50 grand.
But you don't know that.
I mean, I could go and check sold listings right now. I guarantee you no one has bought it for more than a few $100 tops.
You didn't know that nobody would buy it. It's worth a shot. Right? It's
Anything's possible.
Right. But it's like we talked about with the butt controllers. You just got to find that one Deadpool fan who is so over the top and will spend any amount of money.
But the thing is, you've got that one fan that also has to have a crap ton of disposable income in order to afford a game that a few weeks ago was $140, and now that they're spending the same amount of money as SUV for this game.
I would love to be the drunk billionaire on eBay. Just like, you know what? I'm going to make this guy's night. Sold. Buy it now. $50,000. You get that eBay notification. Your item sold. You're like, okay. Yep. All right. This guy's just f***ing with me. Item paid for. Ship now. You're like, what?
Oh, shit, it worked. I didn't think it would work.
And the thing is, too, every guy after that is going to go ahead and cash in on it as well, because all of a sudden they have a verified purchase of it, right? So that goes on price charting, right? Mm-hmm. Next thing, it goes off to WADA.
Right. And then the collectors are actually paying attention and going, oh, shit, we better get one of these.
Yeah.
So, Donnie, what we really need to do is we need to figure out how to get $50,000 and find a stupid game, sell it to each other, right? And then try to sell it again, and then again exchange it so that you get like 10 of these listings sold at $50,000. Boom.
Isn't that verbatim how WADA inflated prices?
Yeah, of
Pretty
course.
much, yes.
So it works, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
It does.
Okay.
I'm on board with that, but I'll make the listing first and you buy it from me first, because I want the $50,000 to come out of your bank account and not mine first.
This is a joint venture, sir.
Do we just go get a loan for $50,000 and then like I pay it through here? eBay takes a cut. We're going to end up broke. That's not how it's going to work. eBay will take a percentage of that. They're going to take $5,000 off the top.
Right, but the thing is, you buy a butt ton of that game, right? Like every copy of Jurassic Park possible, right?
And fill a bathtub.
Corner the market so nobody else has them. And then you sell it for that amount. And then you're the sole source of that game, 200 times over. It's not going to raise any red flags when they notice that it's all coming from the same account and shipping from the same location. No. Because what we're going to do is we're going to get a bunch of PO boxes. This is starting to get expensive.
Yeah, exactly. We made our first sale. How much did we make? We actually lost $6,200.
Okay. I'm not 100% behind your business model, but I think it has potential.
This is like the underpants gnomes, where the first thing is steal underpants. The second one is unknown. Third is profit, right? We'll figure out step 2 eventually.
Do you like where our heads are at on this one?
I do, now that you mention it. All right, next up, 2 new games based on the 1978 horror classic Halloween are in development at Boss Team Games. Retro Realms Halloween sees you controlling Michael Myers as you slice and slash your way through multiple retro stages inspired by the iconic Halloween franchise. It will launch alongside Retro Realms Ash vs. Evil Dead, which follows a similar pattern, but instead you're playing as Ash Williams. Not much is known about the other new Halloween title, but it is being developed in Unreal Engine 5, and original director John Carpenter will be intimately involved.
Ooh, intimately. I like it.
Finally get to experience that fantasy of hooking up with Michael Myers.
The mask stays on.
The mask always stays on.
So, Donnie, you're the big Halloween fan. Thoughts? Mm-hmm.
I've seen the trailer for it. I've seen the trailer for both games. The Ash versus Evil Dead, I guess I'm more on board with than the Halloween one.
Really? Wouldn't have guessed that.
Well, because of the content, right? Because Ash versus Evil Dead, you're just going up against the Deadites. You're killing all those people, yada, yada, yada. They're undead. But with Michael, you're going around actually killing regular people. So I don't know how that's going to sit well with people.
I have seen Dead by Daylight, and I have seen Friday the 13th, and I think people are really okay with that.
Yeah. TK85 says, it is insane to me that they decided to make an Evil Dead game on the Stars series that has been canceled for years.
Right.
But which I get that. That is a little weird. But in theory, it sounds like, because they're already making 2 versions of the same game, in theory, it sounds like they could just reskin this for every horror IP that agreed to participate.
Right.
Absolutely. They could do it with Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Chucky, all that stuff.
Yep.
Chucky.
it does. The gameplay looks fine. It's a platformer. You're slicing and dicing. I'm intrigued. I really am. But to me, it just almost looks like and I don't want to diss the game after not having, or before having even played it or anything like that. It just looks like a fill your time mobile game. Both of them do. And I'm just like, okay, I can just kind of pick up, hey, I'm Michael Myers, / yes, doctor. Okay, I'm ready. All right, proctology appointment. Okay, all right, let me put this away.
Moon River.
Yeah. Deep River.
Okay, well, what do you think about the other one then? I mean, it's being developed in Unreal Engine 5, so one would assume it's a quote-unquote real game.
Yes. I like the sound of it. But until I see actual gameplay of what's going on, I can't really make an informed decision here. If it's something along the lines of Dead by Daylight, where I'm going around, if I'm Michael Myers, if I get to play as Michael, or if I get to play as Laurie trying to escape a certain houses or whatever, and I've got to be sneaky as shit. Like I've actually got to, distract him by throwing something over here and kind of sneak over to this area, make sure I don't touch this creaking board, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. I'd be up for that. But again, I have to see gameplay.
See, I feel like the asymmetrical horror, though, has been done. Like you've had the Friday the 13th, you've had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And then again, that might be exactly why this new Halloween game is going to be asymmetrical horror, because the formula is there already and it sells.
It works.
I hope it would be something different.
I do too, because if you look at Friday the 13th, that tanked because of contractual issues between the original owner and all that stuff, and the creator of Jason Voorhees. So you take that out of the equation. Would Friday the 13th be a game that players are still playing today? Before you answer that question, look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That came out. Everybody was hyped about it. It's a great gameplay. It has great elements, but I think it started off great and it just kind of tapered off. It's just like, eh.
And
so,
what's the clowns one?
Killer Clowns
Killer
from
Clowns from Outer Space. Same thing.
Yeah, they're all gimmicks, in my opinion. So they've got that very eclectic fan base. Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, they all have the bigger fan bases than Killer Clowns and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think. But where do you go with that kind of asymmetrical horror with Halloween? It's going to have that fan base that's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get to play as the killer, I get to play as a survivor, which you've already done in Dead by Daylight. What specialty are you going to have in this game that's going to make me want to go out and pay for this game day one and have constant attraction to it, to play it on a daily basis for X amount of months or years? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's a tough one, but hopefully they can figure something out. My money would still be on asymmetrical horror.
I agree.
I'm willing to bet.
Because you get those sales up front, the player base will die down. You go on to the next one.
And then you don't have to support the server after all.
Right, exactly. All right, next up, the Borderlands movie adaptation bombed during its opening weekend, bringing in only $8.8 million against a budget of $115 million, with another $30 billion in marketing and distribution. For comparison, Blake Lively's It Ends With Us also debuted this weekend, but it earned $50 million, which doubled its $25 million budget in the U.S. immediately. Borderlands initially drew a 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes, but has since settled at 10%. While that's still bad, it does put it safely out of the ranking of the worst video game adaptations of all time, which would include 2009's Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li at 3%, Mortal Kombat Annihilation at 4%, and 2012's Silent Hill Revelation at 8%.
Price now $115 million.
Yeah, I haven't seen this, and kind of like we discussed earlier, I'm going to wait till it comes out on streaming.
I'm the opposite. I'm going on Friday night. I've decided.
Ooh, okay.
By myself, right? Gonna treat myself. Bucket of popcorn.
Treat yourself.
He's going to take his Dune popcorn bucket to see Borderlands.
Right?
It'll be like a date.
Extra butter, please.
Well, with the Dune popcorn bucket, it is like another day.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
I got you. Okay, cool. And yeah, a little, maybe some junior mint. We'll see how it goes. It feels how saucy I'm feeling. But I'm going to check this out because I just want that experience of walking into this with the expectation that it's going to be awful and be mildly pleasantly surprised.
I'm sure it's fine. It's like the patrons were discussing in the Discord. They were talking about friends who had seen it and saying, if you're a non-Borderlands fan, it's fine. It's about what you'd expect. It seems to be the Borderlands fans who, of course, would probably be the ones who would rush out to see it first, who are upset about the movie.
Not a lot of them saw it, though, when you got only 8 million.
Yeah.
Can you say Borderlands fans 3 times fast?
Borderlands fans, Borderlands fans, Borderlands fans.
She had to shut her eyes for that one.
Give you the double fingers, though.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and...
Deluxe action.
Always with blue. I'm going to trust Duct Tape Plays when they say that it was fine. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Everything's fine. Everything's fine with this movie. I think it is going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be as bad as people say. Just like we were talking before the show started, we've seen worse. We have seen worse. And I'm surprised in this article, they don't even mention Super Mario Brothers, the original Super Mario Brothers with the Rotten Tomatoes. So
tomatoes.
We have seen worse. And I think it's when Eli Roth said, shut your brain off, he wants you to just get lost in the movie, accept the movie for what we presented to you. And I have that. There are blockbuster movies where I kind of have to shut my brain off. Like I was watching Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade last night, and I had to shut my brain off at certain parts when he's hanging on the thing on the tank, and it's got his satchel. His satchel thing is like right around it. I'm
Gets
like,
a lot of compliments on that.
It's like how he would have to come out to get his satchel, but yet he's just able to come up like this. And I was like, okay, that's one element where you have to shut your brain off to say, that doesn't work like that, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to allow it for the movie.
Yeah, to suspend your disbelief. And that's
exactly
what sometimes it's fun to go to the movies and suspend your disbelief. I don't know if this is 100% suspend your disbelief. Maybe it's just suspend your expectations. Which is not a good idea.
So the 10 worst video game movie adaptations as far as Rotten Tomatoes score. So you have 2007's Postal at 9%, 2015's Hitman Agent 47 at 8%, 2012 Silent Hill Revelation at 8%, Mortal Kombat Annihilation 4%, 2005's Blood Rain 4%, 2007's In the Name of the King 4%, 2003's House of the Dead at 3%, Street Fighter The Legend of Chun-Li 2009 3%, and the winner at a whopping 1%, 2005's Alone in the Dark.
Oh, I don't even remember that
Super
movie.
Mario Brothers movie is above 10%.
Yeah. It's a masterpiece compared to these other ones.
Yeah.
I think that's a kind of a, how would I call it, revisionist history where everybody goes back and looks at it, has the nostalgia glasses on, like I saw it in the theater when I was a kid and I really enjoyed it. But if you were to show that to somebody today and they were to review it, I guarantee you it would be below 10%. And I know there's a lot of apologists out there for this movie, so if I am triggering that in you, I apologize, but that is just my opinion. When it's the only thing that resembles a Mario Brothers game is the costumes and the names of things, and that is it.
All right. And last up tonight, a video game collector from Saudi Arabia has set a Guinness World Record by connecting 444 unique consoles to a single TV. Ibrahim Al Nasir's collection spans video game history from the Magnavox Odyssey, released in 1972, to the PlayStation 5, released in 2023. And all of them are perfectly organized and tidy to the point where not a single cable shows. According to Guinness World Records, Al Nasir utilizes roughly 30 RC switches, 12 HDMI switchers, and other devices. His myriad consoles, computers, plug-and-play devices, and so on are all organized virtually in a spreadsheet, meaning when Al Nasir decides to play the Nintendo 64 or the PlayStation 2 or the Atari 2600, he merely checks which switcher to activate, presses the power button, and begins playing. And his favorite console, which he called the best of all time and forevermore, is the Sega Genesis.
Yeah!
Donnie's doing a victory dance.
I was watching the video and I was shocked at the fact that the guy had a spreadsheet. He's got that nice 30-inch curved monitor and he's like, okay, if I want to play this one, But isn't that a little bit overkill? You're like, I want to play this one.
Oh no, I thought it was sexy.
Let me go consult the spreadsheet that tells me which button, which switch that I have to push. That guy's dedicated. I will give him that. No cables. You couldn't see any cables whatsoever.
No, it was perfect. Everything organized. Perfect. That room was amazing. He knew exactly where everything was. I mean, he was wearing a white coat, almost like a scientist.
Yeah.
Organizing his lab. It was amazing.
Blue is currently under new kink unlocked.
Yeah, I'm going to need some alone time tonight.
When he said at the very end, he's like, but this is my all-time favorite console. I'm just like, oh, come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. I was like, please say it's the Sega CD. Please say it's the Sega CD. And he went down to kiss. He kissed the golden god, the Sega Genesis. I saw the Master System converter on top of it and the Sega CD Model 1 below it. Yes, he did. He had it going. And you're right. Those consoles all lined up look super sleek, super sexy as hell. Although I will say it's overkill for me because he's got those plug and play consoles that have the 8 games on it. That's not really.
Do you want the world record or not?
I don't know. That seems like a lame world record. I have the most consoles hooked up to one TV at the
You're just jealous.
of all time. Okay.
Donnie, this is how you get the ladies, man.
Is it? Is it?
And we've got one lady testimonial right here.
Unfortunately, if you look over here, you can see all the cables in visibility. So my stuff is not as sleek and sexy as this guy's.
For science, I Googled dumbest Guinness World Records. And you can see if you think that they are dumber than having 444 consoles hooked up to one TV.
Okay.
So there's a record for most toilet seats broken by the head in 1 minute.
By the head?
With your head.
Oh, okay.
Most snails on your face for 10 seconds.
Okay.
Typing all numbers from 1 to 1 million in words. Most watermelons chopped on the stomach in 1 minute.
No.
Farthest milk squirting distance.
Okay, you need to specify. Are we talking cows, goats, or... I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Can you milk me?
So apparently you can squirt milk from your eyes, and there's a world record for this.
Oh. What? No. Devil, man. Devil 666, the mark of the beast. No.
Yeah, so I think that having the world record for most consoles hooked up to a TV is not that bad.
I mean, for context, I guess.
GoldenEye says, I never want milk again. But
right.
Think of the amount of money he had to spend in order to get this world record. It wasn't time. It was money. You invested money to get all of these consoles.
He probably spent a lot of time, too.
Right. What I'm saying is most of these people with world records, they don't have to spend money to do it. It's mostly their time and dedication to something like the fastest or the most amount of watermelons chopped on your stomach. Okay, that's time and precision.
Toilet seats aren't cheap.
True, but if you go to the dump, I'm sure you can find plenty of toilet seats to break with your head.
Dump and dump. That was
well, agree to disagree, I guess.
Okay.
I will say, though, having all of those consoles hooked up at once and the amount of power strips you must have, like daisy chained together. I'm just reminded of like those 80s commercials where it's the like lightning bug singing about not having too many plugged into the outlet at once. Right. And so I wonder how good his insurance policy is for home fires.
He was so organized. I am sure that he accounted for that.
Right.
That's fair, but it's still kind of a fire hazard, right?
You wouldn't put that much money and that much effort into something that could just go up in 5 minutes.
You would think. You would think.
You would think. I trust him. I have faith in him. All right, let's move on to our top 3 new releases.
Arco, Switch and PC. Enter the breathtaking pixel art world of Arco, a dynamic tactical RPG where your decisions shape the story. Explore 3 tales forged in bloodshed, laced with magic, and united by revenge. Cleverly plan your next move in a unique, simultaneous turn-based combat system. Progress through each campaign as a different character with their own set of special abilities. Farewell North, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Restore color to the desolate islands of Farewell North, an atmospheric journey where you play as a border collie on an adventure with your human. Explore land and sea, uncover hidden paths, and free wildlife to bring color back to her world, while revealing an emotional story about saying farewell, for fans of games like Journey, Firewatch, and Lost Ember. Sam & Max, The Devil's Playhouse Remastered, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. The last game in the episodic Sam & Max trilogy, beautifully remastered. As the intergalactic villains who seek the Devil's Toy Box close in, I wonder what's in that, and Max's psychic abilities grow beyond his control, the freelance police will come up against their most frightening adversary yet, the power of Max's mind. Lighting, lip sync, cinematography, music, and more have been updated and enhanced to bring Telltale's 2010 episodic season up to modern standards. So based on these descriptions, Ryan, what are you choosing this week?
This actually might be one where I choose all 3. The Sam & Max, I've got so much nostalgia for. Those were great games on the PC back in the day. Mm-hmm. I think I only played the first or second one. I think we had a demo for the second one. But Sam & Max is just full of like a really great adult humor. It's not the most exciting gameplay, but that you don't care. Like it's there's just so much clever humor throughout the entire series that it's definitely a home run. Farewell North is an interesting one for me. I mean, I love dogs, so playing as a dog, great concept, and I kind of like the idea that you're puzzle solving for someone else. So I'm definitely intrigued by that. Arco is a game that I think, even though it looks very basic, being mostly pixelated, the battle system in this is really unique in the sense that it's very Chrono Trigger-esque, right? Where you're the characters in which you fight move in kind of a turn situation. So you have planned moves and they have planned moves and you decide where you want to go. But there's another piece to it that reminds me kind of like how Fable started that whole, not maybe didn't start it, but Fable where, you know, the decisions that you make really dictate kind of the outcomes of that. Mm-hmm. So if you are somebody who just has complete bloodlust, one of the aspects of the game is that you get guilt essentially. And then you have like, kind of you're fighting internal demons while you're playing against other baddies, and those demons follow you and can damage you during combat and things like that. So it ups the difficulty level if you choose to just go on a murderous rampage. So it's about a lot of decision making, and it's pretty interesting. So for me, at least, if I had to pick one of these, I think I'm mostly interested in Arco at this point. And Sam & Max, I mean, I'll get around to owning that one. Farewell North is more, I'm curious to what people say about it, but definitely interested. But Arco would be my choice. Okay.
Blue, what about you?
I'm not really feeling any of them, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Sam & Max, super funny, really entertaining, but I'm not sure that I need to play this as a game. I think that I could probably just go on YouTube, watch a playthrough, enjoy the story and the jokes, and be perfectly fine. Farewell North, I am terrified of that game.
Oh, I get you. Okay.
The first thing that popped into my mind when it said, when you're, what is it? An emotional story about saying farewell and you're playing as a dog. I have a sneaking suspicion the dog has been dead the whole time.
You just ruined it for everybody.
I don't know if I'm right, but that is what I suspect is happening. And I'm not going to play as a dead dog and then watch her have to say goodbye to her dog when it finally moves on over the Rainbow Bridge. I'm not doing it.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not doing it. So I'm sure it's a lovely game. I'm not playing it. And that leaves me to Arco, which I will agree with Ryan's assessment in that it looks interesting. However, early reviews are that it is a buggy nightmare. So it may need a little time to cook and then buy it, in a couple months or something. So for me, Arco probably eventually, but this week, nothing.
All right. Wow.
That's fair.
Okay.
What about you, Donnie?
I'm impressed that your canine qualities were able to sniff that out with. Let me start off by saying that Arco looks amazing with the pixel art, but I don't know, a dynamic tactical RPG where it looks like it says it's turn-based, but it happens where like you could kind of, if you see your opponent's attack, you can kind of move over here and just like manipulating stuff. I don't know, man. I'm the older I get, the more simplistic I want things to be. That's why
his mind is going. He wants it dumbed down.
Yeah. The button mashers that are like, I'm playing through Ghost of Tsushima right now, and now there's so many different, like, okay, press this button and this button to change your stance. Press this button and this button to change through your other projectile weapons. I'm like, Jesus Christ, does it ever end? So
never.
I don't know if Arco will be the game for me. It looks great, but I just don't know about it. Farewell North, again, it looks like a great game. I love dogs. I'm more apt to play this one as opposed to Stray because I hate cats. So I might play Farewell North just based on that alone. I didn't even begin to think about that possibility that the dog's been dead the entire time. But I don't, after having gone through losing my dog last year, I don't know if that's something I could play without bursting into tears. So
absolutely not.
You can just tell watching the trailer that game is designed to wreck you.
Yeah, man, and I don't want to have that happen.
Nope.
So, which leads me to Sam & Max, The Devil's Playhouse. If you think about it, it's a full motion video game without the full motion video. It's with animated video. So you have a triggered response that, or you select a response that triggers an event, like almost like a QuickTime movie or whatever. And I love these games. I've loved them since forever. This is my type of game. But whether or not I'm picking this up on day one, I don't know. It's cheap. I think it's only like $14.99 on Steam right now. So if I wait until their winter sale and pick it up for like $4.99, I think I'm more apt to do that. But if I had to choose one of them this week, it would probably be Sam & Max.
Okay, before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast. The show explores the history of video games through the stories and experiences of the people who lived it. And today, if you did not know, is the 35th anniversary of the release of the Sega Genesis. Cue the Saving Private Ryan gif.
That's why it's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Donnie's holding his up like Lion King style over Pride Rock. So anyway, this week's question is, what game that was released on both the Super Nintendo and the Genesis do you prefer playing on the Genesis? Let Bill know your answer by sending him a tweet at @gamerlooks@40 on Twitter.
Sega.
Yeah, Webhead's in the chat. Sega.
I'm going to go with NHL 94. I think NHL 94, for some reason or another, just seems to play better on the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
I've got a lot of nostalgia for that game too. And the interesting part is I didn't play NHL 6 or 94 until I became an adult. And it's smoother, it feels like. The color palette that they utilize for it seems to play better. And the fact that you've only got 3 buttons, it just seems to lend to that game. And I can't tell you like objectively that they're any different, but it just feels better. And maybe it's a sound chip too, because I think that's a part of it. But I don't really think that there's a massive difference between them. But I will say, if I'm given the chance, I will play NHL 94 on the Sega Genesis every time.
Okay. What about you, Donnie?
For me, Mortal Kombat. When Mortal Monday happened, you have the Sega Genesis version, which has the blood. You have the Super Nintendo version, which has sweat. I'm sorry. As a kid who goes into the arcade and I see blood, I see spines being ripped out, I see hearts being pulled out with blood just pumping everywhere, and I get the Super Nintendo version and there's nothing?
There's not nothing. There's sweat.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Boo! Boo, Howard Lincoln. Boo. I'm taking the Sega Genesis version every day, all day. Mortal Kombat, no question.
And now this week he remembers Howard Lincoln's name.
It's not Ho-Joe.
I mean, after last week, or 2 weeks ago, nobody's going to forget it.
Right.
Like ever
Especially
again.
not Davey.
So I was going to say Mortal Kombat and neither of you said it. The first game that jumped to mind is Aladdin, but I can't say that I prefer it on the Genesis because that would be a lie. I prefer it on Super Nintendo.
Hold on. You just said you were going to say Mortal Kombat, but none of us said it?
If
none
of you
us
said
sorry.
it.
Didn't hear the if.
Yeah.
Huh?
I know. As we've discussed, you're quite old. So... I am going to go with Cool Spot, I guess.
Cool Spot. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that it's any different on the Genesis than on the Super Nintendo, but I guess, like you said, it feels cooler on the Genesis. That is my entire reasoning. Objectively, it feels cooler on the Genesis.
Cool Spot feels cooler.
I'm going to go with Jeopardy Deluxe Edition because Alex Trebek's mustache just looks so much better on the Genesis than it does on the Super Nintendo.
You can really count all the hairs.
Exactly.
It's that blast processing, man. All right. Well, thank you for coming, students. Please take your seats and welcome back to Professor Rybread's Nostalgia 101. And in today's lesson, we'll be talking about an epic showdown that occurred on the battlefield of our living rooms in the 1970s and 80s. War would decide how we would entertain ourselves at home until 2006 and would be a lesson taught to all of us about modern consumerism. I'm, of course, talking about the battle for home movie supremacy. Betamax versus VHS. So, before I go forward, did either of you own Betamax tapes?
No.
I only know of one person that I've ever met that owned Betamax. So clearly we're kind of alluding to who won this war ahead of time. But I think it's obvious because anytime you talk about old videotapes, everybody knows VHS. But that wasn't always the case. And in fact, today what we're going to do is we're going to kind of roll through that, talk about the history behind it and kind of why VHS ended up becoming the victor. Now, before I jump into the history of this fight, I want to actually take you back, though, to a time before watching films was something you did mostly at the theater. If you wanted to watch a film, you had to pay for a ticket at your local theater or hope to catch a movie or TV show at a certain time on a certain day. Late on your way home? Too bad. No one's going to rewind that movie or show for you, which is likely the reason a small magazine many people in North America would purchase every month called what?
TV Guide.
TV Guide, that's right. And it provided a listing of what shows and movies were available to you on a given day throughout the month. But as the technology of televisions grew and consumers wanted the luxury of recording content for their television set for later viewing, that technology was not exactly a novel concept in the mid-1970s when VCRs ended up coming out. But the equipment to do so back then, so in the early 70s, was prohibitively expensive for most consumers and actually was pretty cumbersome. Now, enter the video cassette recorder, or most of us call it a VCR, actually used magnetic tape to record broadcast video and audio, which was an evolution from the reel-to-reel tape systems used from computers in the 60s. So you didn't have to spool anything yourself in order to record it. It was all just available to you on a cassette. Push it in, plug, hit record, winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? Now, this is actually where Sony enters into the story in 1975. They created their own version of magnetic tape cassettes that they called Betamax. I looked it up why they called it Betamax. I couldn't find anything. So if anybody out there knows why they decided to go with the term Betamax, feel free to educate me. But the tapes were designed and developed to work specifically on Sony branded VCRs that could read those tapes. The tapes are easy to load and unload and record with, and essentially kind of kickstarting the whole VCR market from its previously restrictive past. So Sony focused on making the format both high quality for picture and sound for consumers, thinking that people would likely buy their Betamax tapes to get the best experience possible. They licensed out the technology to other manufacturers, but they ended up keeping a pretty tight leash on the format, limiting the pool of potential licensees, which kind of sounds like Nintendo. Anyone?
No, I've never heard of it.
So now enter the challenger, JVC, or this is something I learned doing research for it. Victory Company of Japan is what JVC stands for. And the following year in 1976, now JVC came out with their version of magnetic tapes they called VHS, or Video Home System. Now, JVC recognized that they needed to differentiate themselves from Sony, essentially. And if they were going to capture any of the market share within that VCR space, they needed to come out with something revolutionary. So they decided to reduce the quality of the picture slightly, but offer twice the recording time of a Betamax tape from 1 hour to 2 hours. JVC also made changes to the mechanism used to play the tapes, which made them much cheaper than their Sony counterpart. And this opened the door for more consumers to be able to purchase a VCR and expanded their reach from just the high-end marketplace, which Betamax had pretty much a stranglehold on, to being able to sell it to the common person. Plus, if you're watching a tape on a TV set from the mid-1970s, I doubt you would be able to tell the difference in quality. So I would love to do a Pepsi challenge on this, right? Do like a Betamax player and then like play the same tape and be like, can you really tell the difference? When they were coming out with sets referring it to as a color TV still, I think you were okay.
I would love to see the difference between Laserdisc and VHS.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you could probably tell the difference on that one.
You think?
I think so. I mean, but then again, Laserdisc was more in the 80s, right?
Right, of course.
So TVs are getting a little bit better, but still, yeah. Maybe sound quality was better. It's in Dolby Digital now.
Ooh.
Right. So the last piece to it, though, is JVC kind of smartly decided to have much more of a laissez-faire approach when it came to licensing. So allowing other big name manufacturers to start producing VCRs like Panasonic and others, and the tapes under their own brand names, and widening their reach and adoption among producers as well as consumers. Now, if you look in the early years of the competition, for both Betamax and VHS, they both enjoyed success kind of in their own niche markets. But even Betamax itself initially led due to its kind of early entry into the market and superior picture quality, which, again, I don't know how much of a difference it was. But however, the longer recording time of the VHS actually made a significant selling point for it. Especially movie studios started to release films on VHS for home viewing. If you've only got 1 hour, that means you got to have 2 tapes.
I know what I do, man. 2 tapes.
Actually, I remember Braveheart came out on 2 VHS tapes because it was long
Braveheart
enough.
did,
Yeah,
Sound
it
of
did.
Music, Fiddler on the Roof, lots of them.
Titanic had 4, I think.
Something like that. Something crazy, right?
Yeah.
Titanic? No, that was only 2.
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Pretty sure.
Okay.
Now, the availability of pre-recorded movies on VHS was actually a critical factor in the format's growing popularity. Consumers now could build libraries of movies, and the 2-hour recording time of VHS made it possible to fit an entire film on a single tape, something Betamax struggled with due to its shorter recording time. And this is also in the time when HBO was coming out as well. So not only are you mixing in the longer recording time, but now you can actually watch full-length feature movies that you knew were coming and be able to build a library of yourself much cheaper. Now, the growth of the video rental industry further tipped the scales in favor of VHS. More studios and distributors saw the potential in the home video market and began releasing more titles on VHS than Betamax. And rental stores, recognizing consumer demand, stocked up on more VHS tapes, creating kind of a positive feedback loop that ended up reinforcing the VHS's dominance. So it became clear the VHS was gaining the upper hand. Sony went, all right, pump the brakes here. We're losing this battle. Let's figure out ways in which we can attempt to kind of counteract that trend. So the company released extended play versions of Betamax tapes that could record for up to 3 hours. Good old EP, if you remember those. And hoping that that would match what was going on with VHS at the time. Now, Sony also reduced the price of Betamax VCRs and began to license the format to more widely in order to kind of increase their market share. However, this is an example of too little, too late. You know, by the time that Sony actually made these changes, the VHS had already pretty much established itself as the dominant format with a vast library of content and a wide range of compatible devices available across the globe. Now, improvements to Betamax, while technically impressive, just weren't enough to reverse the momentum. So to kind of wrap things up here, in 1988, Sony officially conceded defeat in the format war, announcing it would begin producing VHS VCRs in addition to Betamax machines. And as the old saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. So thank you for attending today's Nostalgia 101. Just a reminder, if you have any ideas for a story or a topic you'd like to hear, send us a message at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com and we might feature your suggestion.
That's the old saying. The new saying is, if you can't beat them, buy them and shut down their division.
There you go. Buy them and shut them down.
Yeah.
100% right. Webhead in the chat says, anybody else's parents still call DVDs/Blu-rays tapes?
Yep.
I think what's actually going to happen, though, and it was demonstrated earlier tonight on this very show, our generation will grow older calling everything DVDs.
Yeah, I mean, because they're interchangeable. It's still a Blu-ray DVD. It's still a 4K DVD. It's an 8K DVD, right?
No one's going to have physical media in like 10 years anyway,
Right.
so it's not going to matter.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Thank you for listening to episode 129 of Gamers Week Podcast. And a big thank you to the Retro Game Club podcast, Love Retro BTW, and A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter at GamersWeekPC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/GamersWeekPodcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com, or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/GamersWeek. And finally, since you made it all the way to the end of the episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice. GoldenEye says digital DVDs.
No. Please, God, no. Physical media for me, always.
Okay, Grandpa, let's get back to bed.
All right, so.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
You listen to country, though. I know you do.
You watch your mouth, okay? I listen to older country stuff that I was a kid whenever my parents would listen to it. So like 80s and 90s country, but that's it.
So you're a hypocrite is what you're saying.
It's a big Garth Brooks fan.
No. Girth Brooks. I'm a fan of Girth Brooks, not Garth Brooks.
No, his stuff is good.
That's what it was in the CD case. Is Garth Brooks.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut, patrons with benefits. This is the unscripted, patron-only bonus cast with less editing and more dirty jokes. We don't know where the conversation will go, but we're sure it will be weird.
This fish just went right on my nipple, and I'm just like,
I Google Street Fighter 6. The first search result that comes up is people think they can see Ryu's in the Street Fighter 6 reveal.
Listen up here, kids. You're not going to want to get one of those VDSTDs things, right? Make it fall off. When you go, grab a pro. You'll be doing it for America.
that was perfect.
If you want to hear weekly episodes of our patron-only bonus cast, join us at patreon.com/gamersweek.